Hello, I'm Gwen Hill from Pine Ridge Baptist Church, and from Sunday School Department, ladies class, we are studying the book of Revelation. Revelation is written by John the Apostle. He is acting as a scribe, writing down what Jesus Christ tells him to write. It is a book of prophecy, a book of intrigue, a book of there are so many challenging things in this book that is to teach us how to walk a closer life to Jesus Christ. It is a fascinating book, and I hope you're reading along with me, and I hope that you are delving into even more than I share, because there's a lot to learn about the book of Revelation, and you will be blessed if you read it, if you study it, and if you pay attention to the precepts and you do its deeds. The only book that's offered a blessing that way. Today we're in chapter 3. We are studying the sixth letter of this that's going out to 7 churches. This is church number 6, Philadelphia. We are in a 3rd chapter. As I said, we'll start with verse 7 here in just a minute. That'll give you an opportunity to get your Bibles open and so that you can read along with me. These letters are written to real churches in John's day, the 1st century Christian churches. These churches are only maybe 50, 60 years from the crucifixion, from when Christ was here on earth, when he arose and his ascension. And the church age actually started on the day of Pentecost. The church age started. The apostolic age was the first 100 years. So this age that this one is representing is the evangelistic age. This is the age of the missionaries. This is the age reaching out and sharing the gospel. And it is a beautiful age to read about. This is the church that we all wish that we were part of, and hopefully we are a part of. This is also an admonishment to each individual to assess themselves. Which church would you be a member of? Which membership would you hold? Which one would be the most comfortable to you? How close are you walking to the Philadelphia church? The Philadelphia church was founded in 129 BC, and there's no other mention of the Philadelphia church other than here in Revelation. It was destroyed in AD 17 with the earthquake that also had knocked out a couple of the other churches that we have talked about, Pergamos and Thyatira, but it was rebuilt. This church, this city, this Philadelphia, was founded on very rich, very fertile lands, had a lot of vineyards everywhere. They were a rich church. They were well off. They were a small church, but they were mighty in their witness, and they were mighty in their faith, as we're going to find out. This is the second most faithful of the 7, and we have the other one was Smyrna. And this church never allowed false teachers. This church never took on other gods. This church didn't compromise like some of the other churches did. Most of the other churches did. They never left their first love. The church age is the age of modern mission work. And most people think this church age actually still is ongoing right now, and it is represented by the evangelical movement in our churches that we have now. You know that these letters are written with layers of meaning, okay? They had a meaning, a direct meaning to the people who were alive and received John's letter in their hands. and they read it to their membership, it was to each one of those people, to that church individual, to the leaders of that church. It also is representative of a church age, and the way the Lord had these letters put in order is exactly the way the church ages have gone. And if you take any one of them out of place and put it somewhere else, then the flow does not work. The Lord did it exactly like He wanted it. And it is a personal to you and to me for us to do a check and to do a evaluation of ourselves and how close our walk to Jesus Christ really is. So to the church of Philadelphia, let's begin chapter 3, verse 7. And to the angel of the church of Philadelphia write, these things says he who is holy, he who is true, he who has the key of David, he who opens and no one shuts, and shuts and no one opens. I know your works. See, I have set before you an open door, and no one can shut it. For you have little strength, have kept my word, and have not denied my name. Indeed, I will make those of the synagogue of Satan who say they are Jews and are not, but lie, indeed, will make them come and worship before your feet, and to know that I have loved you. Because you have kept my command to persevere, I also will keep you from the hour of trial, which shall come upon the whole world to test those who dwell on the earth. Behold, I am coming quickly. Hold fast what you have, that no one may take your crown. He who overcomes, I will make him a pillar in the temple of my God, and he shall go out no more. And I will write on him the name of my God, and the name of the city of my God, the new Jerusalem, which comes down out of heaven from my God, and I will write on him my new name. He who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. Now let's go back and look at them. Verse 7. And to the angel of the church of Philadelphia write. Okay, we have talked before, but in case you haven't heard those other lessons, let's talk about this just a minute. To the angel of the church of Philadelphia, the angel is not referring to a heavenly being, ethereal being. It is talking about the leader, either the pastor, the elders, those that are in charge of leading the church that this letter is written to. They are called the angel of that church. Isn't that special? That they are being told that they are like an angelic being. They're being referred to there. In Philadelphia, right. He's saying, now, John, right. You know, this sounds real simple, say, John, right. But there's a little bit more to it than just those words, John, you need to write. Think about where John is at. John is on the Isle of Patmos. He is a prisoner there, a political prisoner, but a working political prisoner. It is a rocky island, very, very few comforts there. If he ended up having anything to write with, it would have been cast-offs from maybe the men over him that were doing tallies for the work that they did. I don't know, maybe he's got visitors who have brought him things to write, but it wouldn't have been an easy thing. And think again of John's age. John's in his 90s. And he is writing to churches, currently he is writing to churches that he knows. He knows the leaders, he knows the membership, he knows the good parts and he knows the bad parts of each one of these churches because he is the last living apostle and he lived next to Ephesus and he, before Patmos, and he was the old leader, the ones that they all went to if they had questions or needed encouragement. He was their mentor. He was a guide. So when Jesus is dictating these, I can almost see John's mind go past what Jesus is saying just a little bit. And when he says, give it to the angels of the church, he's seeing in his mind's eye who those leaders are. It would have been something really wonderful. And he says, right. He says, these things says he who is holy. John, in chapter 1, wrote his vision of what Jesus Christ looked like. Jesus has taken a phrase out of each one of those things that John has said about him and used a portion or a phrase of his description to introduce himself to each one of these churches. But he breaks pattern here. John didn't say in chapter 1 that he was holy, he was true. Jesus goes a little off script because you see there was something very special about this church. And he wants them to know that they're talking, this letter comes straight from God. Because this is what they would have thought. When they heard him say, these things says he who is holy, he who is true. These are references in the Old Testament when God talked about himself. Or you heard the angels say, holy, holy, holy. Or Isaiah when he says, my mouth is not holy. I can't speak. When he saw the angels flying and calling, holy, holy, holy. That's where their mind would go. They would recognize that this letter was from God himself. And he said, he who is true. The better word for this, there's two words that are very, very similar, and one ends in an S and one doesn't. One means true, and the other one means genuine. Here, this word means, the true meaning of this word is genuine. There's no faults about him. God is saying, I'm the real deal. When he says, I am genuine, yes, it's me. He said, he who has the key of David, he who opens and no one shuts, and shuts and no one opens. This is reference to Isaiah chapter 22, verse 22, and it talks about the king. The monarchy would appoint a very trusted someone to hold the key to the treasury. And he's saying, God the Father has given me the key to the treasury. I have the key. I open and close. He has the keys. He has said earlier in the Gospels, he said, I hold the keys of heaven and of hell. And he also holds the keys to death. So he says here, he who has the keys of David, he who opens and no one shuts, and he who shuts and no one opens. It can also refer to opportunities. I can be with you and give you opportunities. But he's telling them of his authority and his power, and he is a rightful heir to the throne of David. In verse 8, the things that I have found over and over in these letters is just how watchful Jesus is of his church, how detailed, how marvelous it is that you're not going to be able to do anything that he doesn't know what you've done. He also knows your motive behind it. He knows who you're trying to impress or who you're doing this for. He knows. He knows. Don't ever think you can hide from God or keep your motives. Do something nice, but inward your motives are not right. God knows. God knows. And he does not forget. He does not forget. I know your works. See, I have set before you an open door, for you have little strength, and no one can shut it. I missed that. I have set before you an open door. That's an opportunity, and no one can shut it. He says, I have given you the opportunity to be the witness that I want you to be. I have set things in place for you to send the word about who I am and how to get close to the Lord through me. How to be saved. You have the plan of salvation, and I've opened up the way for you to send people out. This is the age of missionaries, of sending. If we go to the church age, this church had been sending out missionaries. This church is what we should be doing. Each one of us is a missionary. Have you talked to another single person today? Was your speech, was your actions, were your actions speaking of Jesus? When you drove your car today, did you drive as if Jesus was your passenger? Did you? He says you have little strength. Physically, you're not very big, but it's mighty, mighty, mighty. You are mighty spiritually. He says, for you have kept my word and you've not denied my name. You know, before now, in every church we've come to, with the exception of Smyrna, he would have said, but this one thing you need to improve. This one thing I have against you. You know, or even in the case of Sardis, he didn't have anything against them other than they were dead. But notice here, he doesn't say that. You've kept my word. You've not denied my name. He has no complaint against this church. Verse 9, indeed, I will make those of the synagogue of Satan who say they are Jews and are not, but lie. Indeed, I will make them come and worship before your feet, and to know that I have loved you. There is scripture. See if I wrote it down. In Romans 2:28 and 29, and John 8:44, where Jesus has to tell them that you may be Jews by DNA, but a Jew is to follow God and follow his precepts and follow his laws, and you do not. Your father is not Abraham. Your father is the devil. Jesus himself said that in John. So, it's what he's telling them here. They are getting some flack, evidently, from a group of Jews. The group is big enough that they could form a synagogue. That means at least 10 families. And they are pushing against this church. They are pushing against Philadelphia, the Church of Philadelphia, and giving them strife and making things hard. And he says one day they're going to realize their error. One day the Jewish fathers, the Jewish people will understand that their forefathers made a mistake in not accepting me. One day they're going to find out that the God that the Gentiles are worshiping is their Messiah. And he said, they're going to come and apologize to you, and they're going to come worship with you when they take me. And one day the Jew will know who Jesus is. And that's what he's telling them here. He says, because you've kept my command to persevere, to keep on keeping on, I also will keep you from the hour of trial. There are people who will tell you we're talking about the tribulation, that they believe the rapture will happen pre-tribulation. They're the pre-tribs. That it will happen at the 3.5 year mark. That's the mid-tribs. And then, no, there's not going to be a rapture till after Jesus, after we all go through the tribulation, and that's post-trib or post-millennial. So, this is where the folks, I'm one of them, that believe in pre-tribulation, that before the 7-year tribulation begins, God will call us home, will come with the sound of a trumpet. He will come in the air, and all of those who have died in his name will rise up to meet him, and all of those folks who are alive when he comes will immediately go up. That's what the snatching away, or the calling up, the quickening. That's what we think verse 10 is replying to. And, excuse me just a moment. Says, because you have kept my command to persevere, I will also keep you from the hour of trial. That's what we think the hour of trial is the great tribulation, which will come upon the whole earth, the whole world, to test those who dwell on the earth. Look up, I'm going to give you some verses, some chapters to look at. Jeremiah chapter 30, verse 17. Daniel, the 9th chapter, 27th verse. Matthew chapter 24, verse 21. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 9. All of those are speaking about the snatching away. They're talking about the rapture. Okay? They may not use the word rapture, because remember, this was written in Greek, and it was translated all the way down, and some words don't have an exact equal in English. Okay? So, in verse 11, he says, behold, I am coming quickly. Hold fast to what you have, that no one may take your crown. Jesus said, live your life as if I'm coming in the next few seconds. Live your life as if I am immediately on the journey. He said, hold fast. Keep the faith. Keep the faith. He said, don't let anyone take away your crown. Every time Jesus, the Lord, impresses upon you something, or gives you the privilege or the opportunity to do something to further his name, to witness to someone, take that opportunity. Take that opportunity. It becomes a crown for you, a crown of reward when you get to heaven. It doesn't have anything to do with your salvation. Your salvation is already assured. This is reward. Okay? It's a reward. And how can someone take your reward? Simple. Lord, I don't want to go talk to them. They're scary. Lord, I don't want to talk to them. I'm angry at them. Lord, I don't want to talk to them. I don't have the time. Someone else can do that and get your reward. Because if you won't, God has a habit of bringing on someone else who will. And you don't want your reward to go to someone else. You want to do the things that please God. Verse 12, he who overcomes, he who keeps the faith. That's what that overcomes mean. He who keeps the faith. I will make him a pillar in the temple of my God, and he shall go out no more. Pillars, the temple of David, if I understand correctly, under the big portico there were 3. It's either 2 or 3. Huge round pillars that held the building up. Okay? They were very important. They were very grand. And he's saying, you who overcome, you're helping to build my kingdom. And it's very, very important, the job that you're doing. When you witness for me, when you live a life that points to me, when you keep the faith, Your name will be a pillar in the kingdom. He said, I'm going to write my name on you. You should have his name written on your heart already, but when you get to heaven, he's going to fill your heart and just write up on your soul not only his name, but the name of the city. He is declaring his ownership of you. He is declaring his stamp of value, that you are of value to him, and how much he loves you. I know when little children are born, sometimes they're named after parents or grandparents or uncles or aunts that mean a lot to the family. Family names that mean something. That's what he's referring to. I'm going to give you a name that you can be proud of. I'm going to give you a name that means that you're mine. That you're mine. He says, I'm going to write on you the name of my God, the new Jerusalem, which comes down from heaven from my God, and I'll write on him my new name. What a joy. What a joy to know that he loves you enough, that he's going to put his stamp of approval on you, that he is going to claim you. He's going to put his arm around your shoulders and give you that wonderful hug that a father gives a child. It says, he who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. Each one of these letters to the churches ends with this. This is how we know that it is written for us to go in and glean out of each one of these letters something that means something special that God wants to tell us, to warn us against, to encourage us to continue our promises of what's going to be. Next week, we're going to finish up the churches. We'll talk about Laodicea. I hope you have a good week. This is Gwen Hill. Good night.